All right, this is Greg Kimball with the Final Percent Podcast, and today I'm going to be interviewing a good friend of mine named Drew Dugan, and, we just started recording. We have no idea what we're going to talk about. We're just going to kind of jump into it and have fun and, see what's on the brain. What do you think about that, buddy?
Yeah, it sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about just from your perspective, this coronavirus. Obviously, that's the top of mind for everybody. What is, your thoughts on it as it pertains to, because, everyone's future, the country's future, the economic future, job, everything is so uncertain right now. What are you doing to combat the uncertainty of all of this?
A lot of the same in a lot of ways. My daily routine is, kind of unchanged in terms of what I've been doing and keeping things the same. The first couple of days wasn't like that because the energy around is crazy. Having trouble sleeping and stuff just because of it's just, massive impact globally, and I think that affects how you feel. But not changing everything too much except where needed, the whole social distancing thing.
Yeah, we're not doing a good job of the social distancing. We're sitting,
Oh, no, it's a green screen.
Oh, yeah, we're at separate locations right now, for sure.
And, well, I guess one thing I did change is not go home to my parents' house in Durango, Colorado, where I'm from this week. I would be there today just because, that'd be bad if I'm a carrier or anything like that. On the other end of things, I think this is kind of the pivot point where we have been in the digital age and now we're going into the virtual age. And we've been going that way anyway, but this is the big push to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of things are going to change. Online education and manufacturing stuff too, with the shortages of things and just people doing 3D printer, making masks with 3D printers, and all these things have been in the works, but I think now it's going to be interesting to see how things change. Yeah,
and I think things, and the interesting thing about all of this that I was talking about in my podcast yesterday was, nothing, other than us violently pushed to do it, everyone said, hey, online is the future. Everyone said, hey, we're going in this direction. Everyone knew that this was coming, but no one really prepared. And so I think we're dealing with the situation where we're violently shoved into preparation, which can seem a little chaotic, but the great thing about it is it's going to be great for the future of realistically every single business.
Agreed. And it's interesting too, because there's so many people in the world. The last, I think, big pandemic was the 1918 Spanish flu, and that was terrible. And obviously, technology's advanced a lot, but broader existential questions have come to mind. Being there's so many people, and there's no way this will be the last pandemic, unfortunately, which is a scary thing to think about. But I was talking to my brother, and he was saying how just everyone's been too comfortable and tensions have been rising everywhere. And he was expecting a war to happen, like not, in place of this, but at some point in the future. And instead it was this crazy pandemic. The world's definitely changing.
Yeah. And that's one thing I was talking to my parents about is, look, everything has already changed. We're trying to navigate and understand the changes. And so one of the things that we have to do, and that's why my favorite word right now is prepare. We have to prepare for what is coming. And this is not necessarily, just to be very clear, this is not necessarily a bad thing. We have to prepare for all of the good things that are going to happen because there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there. But we also have to prepare so that hopefully we don't do this again. Because there's a lot of things that could have been done better. Like I was trying to explain yesterday, life and things like this don't come with instruction manuals. And we can't pass judgment on people. We can't place blame on people. And one of the things that I talked about yesterday is whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're small business or big business, whether you're in education or you're in the restaurant industry, every single person on planet Earth would have done something differently to prepare for this coming. And the thing that we are so quick to do is this person should have done that. We should have done this. I can't believe they don't. We don't understand how to truly and properly navigate what is going on. And that's why we have to support one another. We have to band together, and we have to be there for one another in this time, because we right now are currently setting the precedent. We are the precedent setters. And that's the thing. We hear that unprecedented time so much. We are the people who have to set the precedent, and we have to set the precedent of compassion, set the precedent of support, the precedent of love, the precedent of understanding, forgiveness, belief. It's these things are things that we're born with, and sometimes we forget because they do make us vulnerable. And one of the things that I've said is I love one of the things that has come out of this particular crisis is the fact that we finally have permission to be vulnerable. And a lot of people have been hiding behind masks, if you will. Lewis Howes has a great book dealing with, societal masks, that whether you're male or female, that you are, from a stereotypical standpoint, you have to wear. And one of the masks that humanity has worn for too long is that everything's okay. And I think that's where mental health stems from. So I think, yes, it feels a little bit like we're pulling off the Band-Aid a little bit too soon, but it needed to get pulled off.
Agreed. In my past, I've been in many different treatment situations. That's a different conversation, but in those situations we would call, or in those different places, they would call the mask the protector or protectors. So whatever masks you're using for the purpose of protecting yourself from other people, world, so on and so forth. And I love the compassion point too. I was just telling you before we hopped on that I was at 7-Eleven and someone was buying something and they were 80 cents short, and so I just gave him $1, and he was like so absolutely happy. But going back to what's changed and what hasn't, that's something I would have done previously.
Yeah.
And it's not the time to start doing those things if you haven't. I mean, I guess kind of, but those are the type of things that you should be doing anyway. And that compassion piece.
Well, and that's the thing we have to be careful of in this time. Don't make the only time that you show compassion when your back's up against the wall. Make that part of who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big issue too, is kind of saying one thing and doing another thing, just as a, globally in a lot of ways. So
what is your preparation piece? What's a big preparation thing that you're doing to just be better, start figuring things out? What is part of your preparation? I think that's a big thing that we need to start talking about, is how are you preparing for the recovery? How are you preparing to build in a new direction? How are you preparing to make a difference in your life or the lives of others? What is your preparation process?
I guess there's a number of things. I guess first being doing more of the same and not freaking out and all of a sudden changing everything because the world's changed, because that never will stop. And
exactly right.
The other thing too is just realizing what I've always realized, or for a long time I've realized, and that's that from hardships comes growth. And the other day I was telling you, it's, when everything, this is in my life, I'm fairly young. The first, I guess 9/11 was one, but this has been a massive thing, and for a while there wasn't a massive thing, I guess you could say, happening
exactly.
like globally like this. And it's interesting what happens, once everything stops continuing as it does, normal day to day, just in and out type thing, I think is when the real opportunities arise in terms of personally how you handle it, and then, communally, like how you operate and how you react in times like these. But yeah, there's a number of things I'm doing. Just a lot of, sticking to my guns and not folding because all of a sudden I'm home a lot more, or like don't have as much to do, or maybe there's not as many people I'm around, and it can, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have more time. Should I eat worse? Or like I'm bored, so do I want to eat more? And I've recently lost 80 pounds. And
dude, congratulations on that. That
I
is,
appreciate it.
Dude, so yesterday we were looking at pictures of all of us standing next to each other. It was, and you and Zach in particular.
Yeah, Zach. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. We look like different people. So it's just that's a really exciting time. Definitely. We're on a pretty specific program that got introduced to us by a medical doctor. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely reach out to either myself or Drew. We'd love to kind of show you the ropes of what we've been up to. But I mean, honestly, that's like our health is part of our preparation, because when we decided to get healthy, I mean, that's the best defense against this virus, right?
Most definitely.
I mean, you have to have a high immune system so that you can fight this thing off.
Yeah.
So being healthy is more important now than ever, and that's something that I'm really thankful for. It was funny because I've lost about 25, 30 pounds. I was playing basketball a few weeks ago, and for the very first time in probably 3 years, I think, when I got done playing, and I played for like 3 hours, it was the first time that my knees didn't hurt when I was done.
Yeah, that's a weight thing for sure.
It's so crazy. I think another thing that we just need to talk about, because I try to keep my podcast short, so we'll wrap up here in a second. But the community aspect is maybe the most important thing in isolation, in this quarantine phase, in social distancing. One of the things that you should lean on is a community. And we have a great one here at KMG. We have our TFP family. We have our Optavia family. And so we have had the opportunity to really plug into our communities digitally. We have a call every day at 3:33, which is just purely motivation. I just pick a topic and I try to, push some life and some light into people, because it's a dark time right now, but I am committed to turning each and every person I know into flashlights and or lighthouses. But, the community, I know you and we talk a lot about, audio and business, and we were just talking about stocks, and we talk about, coaching in the final percent, everything that we want to do, because we truly have a heart of a helper, if you will. But, I mean, Drew's a huge part of my community, and that's why when we were talking yesterday, I mean, I was just like, dude, just hop on a podcast with me.
Yeah, agreed. And something that's coming up when you're talking about community is, I think people need to realize that the most amount of growth and change and personally can come out of and will, whether you like it or not, come out of the darkest of times.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in extremely dark, messed up places, personally, that have affected my community at different times, obviously, like my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those times, looking back retroactively or whatever, in hindsight, I guess, that I've learned the most, gained the most. And, it's an interesting thing how that happens. So I think that's important to remember.
I think one of the things that we'll commit to right now on the podcast is at some point, maybe even this week, let's dive in. We'll do an extended podcast and let's unpack your story a little bit.
I think that'd be great.
Because I think if you guys understand, I guarantee you the darkest of times that this coronavirus is bringing upon people, you have already gone through things far darker.
Yeah, I've actually been deceased and brought back multiple times, and I would love to talk more about that. And I'm incredibly grateful and thankful for all of it, because
it's made you who you are.
Yeah,
today.
There's no way to learn the things and become the person.
That's a weird word. Become
that you are without those things. And something I've always said is I just never was and will be okay with just living life neutrally. And in order to, I just wanted to drench life or squeeze the liquid out of the orange, if the orange is life, I guess you could say, and just really figure stuff out. And I did so in a very
interesting way. We'll choose interesting.
Destructive.
Destructive. Okay.
But that's okay. Now I'm doing it positively, and it's part of who I am. And so.
Well, I'm excited. We'll take you guys on a journey on who Drew is, because he's become one of the most important people in my life. He's huge at helping us. Or sorry guys, huge. He's huge. Part of our company at KMG. He's a part of the Final Percent. I mean, he's the quintessential rock star of overcoming things. He lives life full out. Has a huge heart, and with really understanding and unpacking his story, I think it can give a lot of people hope to help them understand, what's possible. Because if I would have told you 2.5 years ago who and what you'd be doing today and where you'd be at today, I think at a minimum, anyone in your family would say you're absolutely crazy. That is not possible for Drew.
That is very true.
And I promise you, Drew is one of those people. I love telling him things are not possible, because he will immediately go make it possible. He's one of those magical creatures that, wears perseverance on his sleeve, not necessarily his emotions. And he can persevere through anything, and has. And we'll tell that story. But do you want to say anything in closing before we hop out of here?
Oh, just thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be a part of doing everything with you. And I hope to reach more people with this and make more connections, and for no other purpose than just that. And I think in terms of looking back 2 years, would you ever thought that you would be here? I've learned through those experiences that don't expect or anything to an extent, because you'll end up discounting yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
So that's all.
All right. Well, Drew is Final Percent certified. He goes the Final Percent in everything, his life, his friendship, his business, his learning. I absolutely love and adore him, and I have a sneaking suspicion that decades from now, we will still be doing podcasts and stuff together. So,
most definitely.
With that being said, this is the Final Percent podcast with Greg Kimball and Drew Dugan, and we will see you tomorrow. Also, hop on the call at 3:33. See you soon. The final percent.